The client presentation fell apart in exactly 45 seconds. I watched it happen like I was outside my own body, floating above the conference room, watching everything I'd built get demolished. The papers slid across the mahogany table like someone had pushed them with purpose. Not accidentally scattered. Pushed. My designs, the prototypes, the mock-ups I'd spent 3 months creating during late nights and working weekends, all of it drifting to the floor like leaves. And there she was. Olivia Stanton, my boss, smirking like she'd just delivered the perfect joke. "Maybe you shouldn't have spent so much time on this," she said, her voice dripping with something that tasted like poison. Her smile was sharp. The kind of smile that comes with teeth. The board members looked uncomfortable. My hands were shaking. I could feel every eye in the room pivot to me, and I felt the heat rise in my face. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate destruction. My name is Claire Dawn, and in that moment, sitting in that conference room with my life's work scattered across the floor, I understood something fundamental. Everything I thought I knew about control, about trust, about loyalty to a company that didn't deserve it, it was all shattered. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a declaration of war. I walked back to my desk without saying a single word. My knuckles were white from gripping my bag strap so hard I thought the fabric might tear. Inside my chest, anger and disbelief were colliding like two cars on a highway. Each breath came tight and shallow, like my lungs couldn't expand properly. Olivia had deliberately destroyed months of work in front of the clients and every colleague who mattered. Every spreadsheet I'd created. Every sketch. Every prototype I'd meticulously crafted with precision and care. All of it was gone. Mocked. Ruined. And she had stood there and smiled about it. The nerve was breathtaking. I opened my laptop when I got back to my desk. My hands were still shaking. I scrolled through every file, every time-stamped email, every single draft and version I'd saved. I had documentation of everything. I wasn't thinking about revenge yet. That would come later. Right now, I was thinking about survival. About protection. About understanding exactly what had just happened and why. And I knew one thing with absolute certainty: Olivia Stanton had no idea what she had just started. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and spread everything out like I was assembling a puzzle. Emails from 6 months ago. Sketches organized by date. Timelines showing every decision I'd made. Project progression documents. Proof. Not for confrontation. I wasn't ready for that yet. But for clarity. For understanding the landscape I was fighting on. As I reviewed everything, patterns began to emerge. Olivia didn't understand the technical side of design. She relied on me for everything. The engineering decisions, the technical implementation, the actual innovation. She could talk about it confidently, but she couldn't create it. That was her fatal flaw. And every mistake she'd made, every oversight, every time she'd needed me to fix something she broke, it all became a potential leverage point. I wasn't plotting revenge yet. I was doing something colder and more dangerous. I was gathering intelligence. Mapping the battlefield. Understanding where the weak spots were in her fortress of control. By midnight, I had filled 3 notebooks with observations. By 1 a.m., I understood her weakness. By 2 a.m., I had started planning. The next week, I smiled when Olivia passed by my desk. I nodded when she spoke in meetings. I executed every task she gave me flawlessly, completely, perfectly. But quietly, beneath the surface, the tide was shifting. Colleagues began asking me questions instead of asking her. I corrected slides she'd put together that had errors. I guided clients through solutions she couldn't explain properly. I became the one people actually listened to. And without realizing it, I had become indispensable. Olivia didn't see it happening. Her smirk had blinded her to the truth that was developing right in front of her eyes. She'd created her own replacement, and that replacement was me. One afternoon, a colleague named Marcus pulled me aside near the break room. He looked around first to make sure Olivia wasn't nearby. "You're the one really keeping this project alive," he whispered. Not loud enough for anyone else to hear. Not public praise, but something better. Real validation. Honest recognition from someone who actually understood the work. I began documenting every ally, every team member who relied on me for guidance. Each conversation, each interaction, each moment someone came to me instead of Olivia, I noted it. Each thread I was weaving became part of an invisible web. A quiet power network that nobody could see forming but everybody could feel. I let a minor error slip through one of Olivia's reports. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing that would hurt the company or damage the project. Just enough to make leadership question her competence when they reviewed it. When the board noticed the mistake, Olivia panicked. I could see it in her voice when she tried to explain it. Her voice shook. The color drained from her face. But I stayed calm. Completely composed. Every desperate move she made trying to fix it only made my position stronger. I had started the first domino falling, and I could already sense it was only the beginning of something much larger. Then a video surfaced internally. Someone had recorded Olivia laughing at my project, mocking it to the leadership team. She was describing my work as pedestrian, uninspired, basic. Everyone could see it. Everyone could hear her tone. The smirk was visible. The dismissal was audible. The cruelty was unmistakable. I kept my composure outwardly. I didn't react with anger. I didn't storm into her office. I didn't defend myself publicly. But inside, a fire ignited that burned hotter and colder at the same time. The betrayal was now public. The world could see exactly what she had done. And this moment shifted everything about how people perceived her and me. I created a master folder on my personal computer. I labeled it carefully with everything I'd built. Emails showing my ideas. Sketches organized chronologically. Designs with timestamps. Meeting notes recording my decisions. Every single contribution. Every decision she'd claimed as her own. Every prototype she tried to steal credit for. Every project milestone. I documented it all with precision. Chronological. Irrefutable. Airtight. This wasn't revenge yet. This was insurance. Protection against being erased. Protection against disappearing like I didn't matter. Protection against my work being stolen again. I quietly reached out to contacts I knew outside the company. People in the industry. I didn't look for competitors yet. I was just testing the waters. Gauging interest. Casual mentions at industry conferences. Subtle hints about innovative projects I was developing. Little tests to see who was curious about what I was creating. The responses were lukewarm at first, but that didn't matter. Seeds of opportunity were planted. I wasn't leaving the company yet, but I was preparing for the day when leaving might become necessary. And if that day came, I'd be ready. Olivia started noticing subtle changes in how the office worked. Colleagues deferred to me for technical guidance instead of asking her. Clients asked me questions first and listened more carefully to my answers. She tried to assert control over meetings and decisions, but the board had begun to see the cracks in her performance. I said nothing about any of it. I just smiled quietly. Let her desperation do all the talking. Every time she tried to take control and failed, it only confirmed what everyone was already starting to understand. She wasn't actually in control of anything. Late nights became my laboratory for refinement. I worked on the project constantly, testing every detail, refining every element, documenting my improvements. Olivia thought her sabotage in that boardroom had ended my work. She didn't realize the project now existed beyond her reach. It was mine. Her power over it was gone. Competence became my weapon. Preparation became my shield. Knowledge became my advantage. Silently, quietly, every night at my dining table, I strengthened my position while she slept. I contacted the partners who trusted me most. I didn't complain about Olivia. I didn't attack her or try to make her look bad. I simply provided updates. Insights that only I could provide. Clarifications that only I understood. Slowly, almost invisibly, they stopped asking Olivia questions and started asking me instead. I was becoming the face of the project. The actual voice. The real architect. And Olivia was becoming the figurehead with no actual authority underneath the title. Whispers started circulating through the office like a virus spreading person to person. Whispers about mismanagement. Whispers about inefficiency. Whispers about errors and poor decisions. Investors started questioning her strategic choices. Colleagues began doubting her competence. The irony was almost poetic. The woman who sabotaged me had created all the evidence of her own incompetence. She'd handed me the ammunition and didn't even know it. Every moment of humiliation that I felt transformed into strategy. Anger became clarity. I wasn't the powerless underdog anymore. I was the quiet architect of my own comeback. Every late night, every note I took, every observation I documented, it was all building something she could never touch. Something she could never destroy. Something that existed beyond her control. I pitched a refined version of the project to a trusted external partner. Not Olivia. Not the company. This was separate. Evidence. Proof. Results. Olivia remained completely unaware of what was happening. She was going about her days thinking she'd won, thinking she'd destroyed me, thinking she was still in control. Meanwhile, I was building her competitor while sitting inside her empire. Team members started confiding in me about their frustrations with Olivia. They talked about her unpredictability, her cruelty, the way she took credit for other people's work. I listened carefully to every word. I empathized with their experiences. I built trust with every conversation. Every person who came to me for guidance instead of going to her added another layer to my power. Every ally I gathered made my position stronger. A larger competitor reached out to me. They'd heard whispers about my innovation. They wanted a confidential meeting. My heart raced when I read the email, but I stayed composed. Every month of patient work, every night of planning, every strategic move I'd made in silence was about to pay off. This was the moment everything changed. Olivia tried to present the project as her own creation to the leadership team. She stood in the boardroom and talked about my work like she'd conceived it. Like she'd designed it. Like she'd brought it to life. I calmly presented my documented proof. Emails I'd sent explaining my ideas. Sketches with my signatures and dates. Timestamps showing when I created every element. Her attempt to steal credit backfired spectacularly. Leadership questioned her credibility. Every arrogant claim unraveled right in front of everyone. The pressure on Olivia began mounting visibly. Leadership now asked me directly for updates instead of going through her. She grew desperate. Her voice shook when she talked. Her posture faltered. Her confidence disappeared. Every attempt she made to regain control only reinforced the truth for everyone in the office: she never actually had it. The authority had always been mine. Partners, board members, and colleagues now recognized me as the true driver of the project. I introduced solutions that only I could provide. Only I understood. Only I could implement. Her interventions in meetings fell flat. Her suggestions were ignored. My authority was cemented, quietly but completely, and it was irreversible. She cornered me one evening near the parking garage. Her voice was different now. Not confident. Desperate. "Claire, you're the only one who can make this work," she said. "Don't ruin it. Please." I nodded politely. I didn't argue or defend myself. I just listened. Her panic only confirmed what everyone else already knew. I held all the power. She had nothing left. The competitor's official offer arrived. Multi-million-dollar contract. Chief Innovation Officer title. Complete control of the project I'd built. Leadership role. Compensation that reflected my actual value. Betrayal transformed into vindication. I held my future in my hands, and it was everything I'd worked toward. Leadership formally reviewed all the emails, all the timelines, all the documentation of decisions. Olivia's incompetence and theft of credit were laid bare for everyone to see. She tried making excuses. She tried pleading her case. She tried manipulation. Everything failed. The weight of her own arrogance crushed every possible defense she attempted. I accepted the competitor's offer. Chief Innovation Officer. Full authority over my project. My office downtown with a view of the city. Every detail, every relationship, every innovation was mine. My career was reclaimed. My life was transformed. I had won in every way that mattered. Olivia watched me leave the building for the last time, carrying a small box with my personal items. The project she sabotaged was now her competitor's greatest advantage. Streamline Technologies was about to release my innovation, and their stock was going to soar. I was Claire Dawn. Once dismissed and humiliated, now unstoppable. The moral was clear: patience, strategy, and competence always triumph over arrogance. Some people learn that lesson. Others, like Olivia, just watch it happen to them while the world moves on without them. The end, but Claire's journey isn't over. Like, share, and subscribe to see what she conquers next.